This is Football Night in America, built by Lowe's.
Welcome to the Football Night in America podcast presented by Lowe's. Maria Taylor here with you, Matthew Berry, Mike Florio, Devin McCourty, and Jason Garrett. We just wrapped up all of our shows and so much to talk about in Week 15, but we have to start with what we saw in Kansas City. And Florio, I'll start with you with Patrick Mahomes going down with a torn ACL. It was the end of their playoff contention. We saw 10 straight seasons where they made it to the postseason, so it just seems like this could be the closing of a chapter. I wonder how you read the way this season ended for the Chiefs.
Maria, it's amazing. The worst the Chiefs had ever done before this year with Patrick Mahomes as the starter was losing in overtime of the AFC Championship. That was their floor until this year. To the Bengals, and the Patriots.
Okay.
Yep.
Were you there that day?
I was there.
Were you playing that day?
Awesome night.
And they still won?
Unbelievable night.
All
We
right.
got beer thrown on us. Unbelievable.
Great night.
But we felt it coming all year because all the way back to week 1 in Brazil, that's the kind of game that the Chiefs find a way to win. And, oh, wait, there's Justin Herbert doing that slide to ice the game. And it's like, that's usually what Mahomes would do to ice the game. And we kept waiting and waiting. And I said last week, I'm not going to give up on them until they're mathematically eliminated. But now they are. It's the worst possible day for a Chiefs fan. Mathematically eliminated, and now we have to wonder how long it's going to take for Patrick Mahomes to get back to 100%. We know he's determined, he's driven, but he's not a pocket passer. He uses his mobility and agility. They're going to have to be sure that knee is fine. It's going to be a long, slow process. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, and they need a lot of work on the roster. I don't know that this is a one-year fix. I think it may take some time to get them back to where they're used to being.
Yeah, and I think what you just said, and we said it all day watching the game, the whole offense was Mahomes drop back, scramble, move around. So when you think about that aspect of his game, he can't rush back and be back out there, especially until they know exactly what they're going to have up front, how they're going to protect them, what style of game they're going to play. So I agree with you. I think this is a situation, my time when I got to New England, Brady was Tom Brady to us. I remember being a freshman in high school and watching him win a Super Bowl and then being on that team and then winning 3 Super Bowls. And I think the last Super Bowl we won, it was like, hey, Sony Michel was 4 years old when Brady won. So I think Mahomes has that in him. I think he can stick around until like this senior in high school is sitting there saying, I can't believe I'm playing with Mahomes. I watched him when I was in middle school win a Super Bowl. I think that's the time frame we're looking at.
Yeah, we've all been talking about this all day. 2008, Brady gets hurt. Yeah. He's out for the year. So there was like this sense of, okay, this was the pre, and then it takes a year off, and then let's do the second act. And I think the same thing can happen for Patrick. He's going to play for 10 more years. The way they protect quarterbacks, just his athleticism, all of that. The key is to how do you get the building blocks around him, the cornerstone players. And I have confidence in Andy Reid and Brett Veach to do that, maybe more so than you guys. They can do it more quickly. They're losing all these close games. The issue this year is 1-7 in one-score games. That was their signature for so long. So I think they're closer than maybe what their record might indicate right now, but I would not rush him back. I'd make sure he's healthy. You better get a veteran quarterback in there who you can win with early in the season until he returns.
I also think they need help on defense. You know what I mean? I think at least the last couple of years, early on in sort of this run, it was just Mahomes and the offense, and they're putting up points, and Tyreek Hill, and it was just awesome. And then recently, the last couple of years, they played really good defense. Last year they were top 10 in yards allowed. In 2023, they were second in yards allowed. This is a defense that really scared you, and Spags did just such a great job. And this year, just when they needed that stop, it just didn't seem like they got it, at the appropriate times. And the other part of it is it's not just Mahomes, but like, does Travis Kelce come back?
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so, right? I think he retires as well. And so you think about how much of their offense was Mahomes stretching plays and just him and Kelce having that mind meld, and Kelce finding the soft spot in the middle of the zone or whatever and converting another first down, right? And so, Andy Reid's over 70. How long does Andy Reid keep coaching as well? So I think there's questions beyond. Obviously, the health of Patrick Mahomes is paramount here, but there's questions about this organization as well. I think specific to this year, one of the things that's caught up to them is just injuries, right? Rice was suspended for the first 6 games. Xavier Worthy misses a bunch of games early. Now their offensive line's been decimated. It's been tough for them to stay healthy this year.
I agree with everything you said, but I think we're forgetting about how great the head coach is. And he is getting older. He's going to be 70. Forget Kansas City. Look what he did in Philadelphia for 12 years, right? NFC Championship game. Look what he did pre-Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City to turn them around. So obviously Mahomes gives a guy like Andy Reid jet fuel to go take it to the mountaintop. But Andy Reid knows how to run an organization. He knows how to win. He knows how to get another quarterback in there and at least kind of hang in there and hold the fort till Patrick comes back.
Oh, I could not agree more, Coach. I think Andy Reid is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And my Andy Reid argument is that if Patrick Mahomes was going to be great no matter where he went, but Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid is not Patrick Mahomes, capital letters, 3-time Super Bowl winner, face of the NFL. Because the thing I always say about Andy Reid, the argument for Andy Reid isn't Patrick Mahomes. The argument for Andy Reid is Kevin Kolb and Mike Kafka and Jeff Garcia. Look at the production he got out of a bunch of quarterbacks that failed everywhere else except when they were in Andy Reid's system, right? I mean, Alex Smith had a career year with him.
No doubt.
But the thing that they now have to deal with, the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers are now here, and they're going to feel like this is our time.
There's no question.
Yeah, so it might be the tide changing a little bit in the AFC. But either way, we're used to either ending the season with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs or starting it with them because they've won the Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to see him miss a chunk of the season no matter what with this torn ACL. And he's only ever missed 2 games since he's been the starter in Kansas City. Let's get into the Bills coming back from being down 21-0. And never a doubt in Jason's mind. He told us before the day even started that he was rolling with the Bills. How are they able to turn it around in the second half and get a win?
I got to admit, there was a little doubt, though. The way it started. It's hard to go into New England and win, particularly against a team that's won 10 straight. But I was so impressed with how the Bills did it. They were methodical. Josh made a number of plays, but they ran the ball. They were physical. They went right at this Patriots defense, and they made stops on the other side on defense. They got off the field. They intercepted a pass. They won on 4th down, all of those things. So to me, for them to come back from down 21-0 in a critical game against the team that's about to clinch the division, it was a signature win for them, and now it gets really interesting down the stretch.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think during the game at one point as they were approaching halftime, they put up a graphic. I think the Patriots were like plus 75 in the first half, and the Bills were like plus 95 in the second half. And we're looking and we're like, okay, we see the score, but that's an important graphic. And as soon as the second half starts, Sims talked about it earlier, Buffalo gets a good kickoff return, and then they just got in a groove. James Cook was big. But I think for the Patriots, they got to figure something out. Milton Williams was a key free agent acquisition. He was the middle of that defense. He made everyone else around him better. I think they were top 5 in rushing at that point in the season. Since he's been out, they've given up a ton of rushing yards. Teams know when we play the Patriots, their offense is really good. How do we win? Keep Drake May and that offense off the field running the ball, and Buffalo was able to do that today.
One of the things Chris and I talk about on PFT Live when it relates to being down a lot of points, 21 points. Today's players, after all those years of playing Madden, they don't think of it that way. They think of it as 3 scores. They don't think about 21 points. Like, we'll score, and we're going to stop, and we'll score, and we're going to stop. And the next thing you know, we're back in it. And when they got that first touchdown to stop the bleeding and make it 21-7, that's when it's kind of like, okay, there's an opportunity here. And what a lost opportunity for the Patriots. They have to just be sick about this. They had the division title. They had the T-shirt and hat that you would have worn to the facility the next day, because you told me this week you always wore the hat. I'm kidding.
I got a lot of hats and T-shirts at the house.
Still in the rubber bands.
Still in plastic.
But they had it. They had it in their grasp. And now how do you keep one loss from becoming 2? Because they got the Ravens next week, and they got to forget about this and keep going.
They really do. I mean, really impressive. This is the third win by the Bills this year where they were down by double-digit points. Third double-digit deficit that they came back and win. And so, Josh Allen has said this consistently throughout the year. Like, I don't want to do the highs and lows. We're staying even. We're staying even-keeled and just kind of playing our game. And so, just a really impressive win for Buffalo. And for New England, look, this is a really telling moment for them, because to date they've had a pretty easy schedule, because they're basically playing the last place schedule from last year, and they've done what good teams should do against bad teams. They have won, but this was a big test. You know what I mean? And so, it's a test. Unfortunately, they didn't pass. So I think next week against Baltimore is very, very telling in terms of, are they going to host the AFC playoffs throughout at Foxborough? Are they going to lose this division and be a wild card team? And are they maybe just not ready for to be elite just yet.
Well, the good news for us is that game will be on Sunday Night Football. So the Patriots at the Ravens. Hopefully we can get Devin out there to go talk to Drake May and see how he's going to respond in this game. We'll see what we could do. Meanwhile, the Rams, they beat the Lions for the second straight game. They roll up at least 500 yards, score at least 40 points. Is this the best team in the NFL?
I would say so. I think they've been the most consistent, even though they lost to Carolina and everyone's like, oh, no. They came, they rebounded the next week, they lit up Arizona, then they played Detroit. And the game started, Hutchinson has that interception and said, okay, here we go, maybe Detroit. But again, Stafford and this team, and I think this team really believes in what they have. And they've talked about it all year when Stafford was questionable with the back to start the season, they didn't care about any of that. And what I love about them is they have an attacking defense. So when you can play with an offense that has weapons and you attack on defense with that defensive line, it's just a really good mix to win in the playoffs. So they're a scary team for anybody that has to play them.
Yeah, they're obviously so good in all phases of their team. I go back to the relationship between Les Snead, the GM, and the head coach, Sean McVay. They just have such a clear idea of how they want to play, and they draft and sign players to that. And if you look at what they've done, when Aaron Donald left this team, I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's a big.
We've tried to block that guy. My God, how are they going to replace him? And sure enough, they draft these young guys that play defensive line. They hit on 3 of them. Okay, they have issues this offseason. Let's move Cooper Kupp out. That's a big decision. Let's bring Davante Adams in. I mean, they just seem to understand the kind of players they need and how they want to play. And there are very few weaknesses on this team. And the quarterback's playing as well as anybody. I love what they're doing.
I'm not ready to say the Rams are the best team in the NFL. What I will say, though, is the winner of Thursday night's game between the Rams and the Seahawks, in my mind, will be the best team. Because I think one of those two teams is going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, unless somehow the 49ers can pull the rabbit out of their hat, and they still could. But I think it comes down to the Seahawks and the Rams. I mean, the Seahawks had a trap game today. They're playing a 44-year-old quarterback. They somehow managed to get the win. But how are you not peeking ahead a little bit when you're playing a foe like the Colts? How are you not peeking ahead a little bit to Thursday night? I think so much is going to come down to what happens Thursday night.
Good point.
Yeah, I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL, but I agree with you. I'm on Thursday night. I think that's going to be sort of the battle for not only the number 1 seed, but sort of who is the, Seattle could easily prove their case. But right now, if I had to pick one, I'd give me the Rams. The only concern I have for Los Angeles is just, their offense is tied with those 3 guys, right? I mean, listen, Colby Parkinson had a very nice game today as well, and they're getting some production from the running game as well, obviously. But it's Stafford, it's Puka, it's Davante Adams. And we saw Davante Adams leave the game with a hamstring. We'll see if he can make it back in time for Thursday. I know McVay is optimistic as we sit here today. Puka cramped up. And so these are 3 guys who are elite, but have struggled with injuries throughout their career. Right? Stafford's 37. He dealt with a lower back injury at the beginning of the year. Puka's had his issues as well. And so I don't know that they have, they need to stay healthy. I suppose that's true of every team in the NFL, right? But yeah, for me, I feel like the Rams, they're so good. They're so good defensively, and I just don't know how you stop this offense. Back-to-back games now with 500 yards and 40 points. Like, to do that in today's NFL it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and we'll see, like you said, what happens with Davante Adams. But the guy who's been waiting patiently to get into the show is Steve Kornacki, and we want to bring him in to talk about the Detroit Lions and what this loss means to their playoff probability.
Yeah, Maria, Lions lose that game, and it drops them down to a 34% chance to make the playoffs right now. So how could the Lions still get in? What would it take? Well, at 8-6, basically, likely they have to win out. That would be the first step. If they do that, that would get them to 11-6. And 11-6, if you look at the current NFC playoff standings right here, there's a number of potential teams they might be able to jump. But I think the most direct path that exists right now for the Lions involves the Bears, who at least for the moment are sitting on top of the NFC North. And I say that because one of those wins for the Lions, if they win out, would be against Chicago. And who else does Chicago play? Well, they get the Green Bay next week, and they get San Francisco. Chicago has the toughest remaining schedule of any team in the league. So for the Lions, when I say direct path, if they win out and Chicago loses one of those 2 games, Green Bay or San Francisco, Detroit's going to have the tiebreaker over Chicago. They would jump them in that case. So there are other possibilities here. We should mention here, with Micah Parsons being out, the Packers now, what if the floor collapses for them? There could be a chance for the Lions to catch the Packers as well. Some other possibilities, but the most direct, it involves the Bears for the Lions.
All right, appreciate it, Steve. Just looking at that, it's like, whoo, the NFC, it is a tight race, and some good teams are not going to make the playoffs. All right, it's time to earn your Sunday, presented by Lowe's. This is our speed round. I want you guys to tell me who is the hero. Let's start with the Broncos winning their 11th straight game.
I think it's Bo Nix. Over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He played phenomenal today.
I'll go with head coach Sean Payton. He is keenly aware, as is any coach who has won a Super Bowl with one team, that no one has ever won a Super Bowl with a second team. And he brings that offensive genius, and with Vance Joseph, they've put together a championship caliber defense. And look, it's year 3, and they pulled it together, and they've got a great ownership group with unlimited funds, and everything's rolling. But Payton's the guy that is at the center of that, and he's making it all work.
The hero, defense. It's the Broncos defense. They've kept them in all year. I think Bo Nix is getting on, and he's going to keep getting better throughout the playoffs. But the way this defense is played, the defensive line, their rushing coverage, how they mesh it together, they're the heroes.
Is it the MVP today or the MVP of the season?
It's the hero.
You said the
hero.
First
today,
team to clinch in the AFC, right?
Yeah.
First AFC playoffs, defense team. Man.
I agree with you, defense
next,
for the
Coach.
season.
I agree
today.
with all
say
you
Bo
guys.
Nix. Yeah.
Bo Nix was phenomenal. The defense has been incredible. I thought Surtain's interception was a huge play in the game. Sean Payton, to me, people talk about offensive genius. I think more than that for me with him, and I played for him. He's a good friend of mine. I just think he's done a great job building the organization, understanding how he wants his team to play, what kind of guys you want to bring in there, what the culture is every day. And I think what impresses me most about him is he has strong convictions about things. This is what we are. This is how we're going to play. This is my quarterback. This is what we're going to do on defense. And the team follows that. They've certainly taken on his personality. They've been really impressive.
All right, what about for the Ravens eliminating the Bengals and shutting out Joe Burrow for the first time in his career?
Yeah, I'm going to say the defense for doing exactly that. Anytime you can shut down Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and 0 points, to me, you're the hero. 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. They made Joe Burrow look mortal today.
Lamar Jackson, it finally feels like he's back. He's moving like he did before the hamstring injury. He had 4 touchdown passes on the Thursday night when he came back from the hamstring injury. He had 2 total touchdown passes in the 5 games after that. He had 2 today, so they're moving the passing game in the right direction. They're going to need it if they're going to catch the Steelers, so I think Lamar Jackson had a lot to do with it today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Lamar Jackson made everybody else around him better. I think it gave the defense a lift to watch him play. I think he was a little bit of their issue in the last few games and not, offensively missing throws, not running the way he used to. So I think the way he played really got that whole team going.
Yeah, we've been talking about this word respond really all day long. And think about it. 2 weeks ago, Cincinnati goes to Baltimore and destroys the Ravens at their place on Thanksgiving night. And Baltimore responded. And for me, it starts with the defense. Cincinnati's had such big games against Baltimore. Burrow and Chase and all these guys, they've dominated them through the years. And not today. They went in there and their backs to the wall, and they responded the right way.
One other thing real quick, too. I got to give them credit for not letting last week's game stick with them. Because let's face it, they got screwed. 3 bad calls last week. They know it. But they put it behind them, and they didn't let 1 loss become 2.
What about the Eagles snapping a 3-game losing streak?
The hero, the schedule makers that sent the Raiders cross country for a 1 o'clock game with a backup quarterback that the Eagles knew because he spent a year on their team.
You think the time mattered?
All of it?
I mean, all of it mattered. The schedule makers were the real MVP today. If you want a real answer, how about I'll say the link. This is the 8th straight win at home in December or later for the Eagles. That is one of the toughest places to play, especially late in the season. Good for the Eagles. Look, it was a bad team. They did what they needed to do, which is take care of business. They took care of business.
Brandon Graham, retired, came back in the middle of October. With Jalen Carter injured, he's moved inside. He had 2 sacks today. And the Eagles held the Raiders to 75 total yards of offense. That's the lowest gained against the Eagles since 1955. It's the lowest output by the Raiders since 1961, and they are a disaster, and I don't know what they're going to do. The Eagles needed this, though. I said all week, the Eagles need to beat the Raiders the way the Chiefs did, and it's the exact same final score, 31-0.
Yeah, the MVP's the Raiders. I mean, the way they played, the way they went out there, and again, I think for the Eagles, as much as everyone's talking about, they have a sweet spot in the schedule. They played the Raiders. They're going to play your Commanders twice to end the season.
Yes,
so I think they'll be able to look at these games and look at them. They're not must-wins, but when you turn them into your head mentally and say, hey, this is a must-win. We need to go. These are playoff-type games. We want to play our best. I think one of the key matchups for this team will be taking on the Buffalo Bills. And if you win that game, I think then they say, hey, we're the same team we were last year. Let's go win this thing.
Yeah. Scheduling is real. You know, when you play these teams, you have to take advantage of them. They did that today. They got healthy against a bad football team, like we all know, but they had a better look to them. You know, they just had a spirit about them. Quarterback, Jalen looked like he had a good look in his eye. AJ seemed happy, so sometimes that can jumpstart you for down the stretch.
All right, well, we're headed down the stretch, guys. You guys ready for Week 16? We got to keep winning. Keep rolling up the dubs. Join us for the Patriots and the Ravens. It's going to be a good one, and we're going to start our Football Night in America coverage of Week 16 at 7 Eastern on NBC and Peacock.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.